Imagine a desert, so dry it makes the Sahara look like a spa, and then imagine someone building a giant pyramid there. That's the Moche for you. First, let's set the stage. Here's the world our story unfolds in, around 500, with Sipán right at the heart of it. In the Moche workshops, fire and metal dance as artisans master the lost wax technique, turning humble clay into golden masterpieces. But the real trick? Gilding. They mix gold dust with acid, paint it on copper, and heat it, turning cheap metal into bling that would make a rapper jealous. These shiny treasures aren't just for looks, they're power. The Lord of Sipán wears them to show he's not just rich, he's basically a god with good taste. At Huaca del Sol, the Moche priests prepare the grandest show in the Andes. A prisoner, a knife, and a goblet that's about to get a very special vintage. The crowd roars as the priest raises the goblet high. To the gods, he bellows. The prisoner gulps, suddenly wishing he'd taken up pottery instead of raiding. And then the blood flows. The priest sips from the goblet, smacks his lips, and gives a thumbs up. A bit earthy, but not bad. The prisoner faints. The Lord of Sipán isn't just dead, he's going out in style. His tomb is a VIP lounge for the afterlife, packed with gold and bling. But wait, this isn't a solo gig. His loyal warriors and attendants are going with him. Because what's an afterlife without your entourage? They even bury a dog and a llama. Because even in the afterlife, you need a pet and a snack. This tomb is the original bring your whole family to work day. It's 600 CE, and the Moche are getting a weather forecast from hell. El Niño shows up like an uninvited house guest who floods your living room, and then stays for a decade of drought. The mighty Lord of Sipán's heirs watch their irrigation canals turn to mud. Their grand temples, once symbols of divine power, now look like sad sandcastles after a tsunami. With fields ruined and God silent, the Moche elites start pointing fingers. You didn't sacrifice enough. You sacrificed the wrong llama. Political fragmentation begins with a very petty blame game. While the Moche drown in their own drama, down south a new kid struts onto the block. The Nazca, masters of pottery, masters of lines, masters of why is there a giant hummingbird in the desert. Their secret sauce? A brush so fine it could paint a mustache on a flea. And colors so bright, the desert itself blushes with envy. But the real showstopper? The Nazca lines. Giant drawings so big you need a bird's eye view. It's like the world's first prehistoric billboard, but for gods. The Nazca workers are basically playing the world's slowest, sweatiest game of connect the dots. Each stone they flip reveals a line of lighter sand below. But why? Because the gods are up there, and they need a really big doodle to get their attention. It's like leaving a giant post-it note for the sky. And the spider? That's not just a creepy crawly. It's a rain god's best friend, drawn big enough to give arachnophobes nightmares from a mile up. The Nazca hydraulic engineer points at the dry riverbed, his mustache twitching with determination. We'll dig down, not across. Workers dig a spiral hole, disappearing underground like gophers on a coffee break. The engineer yells, "Deeper, you lazy llamas." The Puquio now carries water underground, a secret underground river. The Nazca Lord tastes it and cries. It's not muddy, it's a miracle. The Nazca people stream toward Cahuachi, their sacred city, carrying offerings and prayers. It's a pilgrimage so big, even the llamas look impressed. At the temple, the priestess raises a goblet of chicha beer to the sky. The crowd cheers because nothing says holy like a good party. But the real magic happens underground, offerings buried in the earth, whispers to the gods below. Because in Nazca, even the ground has a listening ear. Meanwhile, the Nazca weavers are bending reality with backstrap looms, turning cotton and camelid fuzz into textiles that would make a peacock jealous. But these aren't just fancy dish towels. Every thread is a prayer, every pattern a myth. The Nazca are literally wearing their religion. Now the big move, the road from Moche to Sipán. And the colors? From cactus bugs and indigo plants. Because nothing says holy garment like crushed insects and fermented leaves. Nazca potters, the original hipsters, reject plain beige. They invent a palette of 15 colors, turning clay into a rainbow of divine doodads. But why stop at pretty? These pots tell stories, hummingbirds for rain, killer whales for the sea. It's like a comic book, but you can drink chicha from it. Every swirl and dot is a prayer baked in fire. The gods, being picky, appreciate the effort, and the killer whale motif really ties the altar together. When a Nazca bigwig dies, they don't just dig a hole. They throw a party for the afterlife, and the guest of honor is wrapped up tighter than a burrito. The mummy bundle is a masterpiece. Layers of embroidered cloth, a gold mask, and enough ceramics to open a pottery shop. Clearly, you can't take it with you, but you can try. The tomb is sealed, and the rich dead guy is now the richest dead guy in the neighborhood. His family? Already planning the next funeral, because status doesn't stop when you die, dear viewer. By 500 CE, the Nazca's precious Puquios are running dry, their fields turning to dust. The earth, once their friend, now gives them the silent treatment. The Nazca, masters of engineering, watch their water miracle turn into a dust bowl. Their secret underground river? Now, just a rumor, like a good Wi-Fi signal in the desert. And here's Sipán up close, where our story really plays out. Meanwhile, on the horizon, the Wari Empire arrives like an uninvited guest who brings their own army and a bad attitude. The Nazca's party is officially over. The Wari don't just knock on the door, they kick it in, bringing their imperial vibes and a taste for conquest. The Nazca, already thirsty, now face a full-on turf war. The Nazca, proud and stubborn, try to fight back. But their best weapon is a fancy pot, and the Wari have swords. It's like bringing a spoon to a gunfight. The Wari Empire rolls into Nazca territory like a conquering uncle who shows up unannounced and starts rearranging the furniture. Their soldiers in snazzy tunics plant themselves in front of the temple. But the Wari aren't just here for the view. They bring new gods, new styles, and a helpful suggestion. Why not worship us? The Nazca, proud as ever, respond with a collective nope. The Wari, being the diplomatic sort, respond by burning the temple and building a new one. The Nazca watch their sacred site go up in flames, and it's not a good look. In 1927, Toribio Mejia Zesp hikes up a hill, squints, and nearly drops his canteen. Below him, the desert floor is covered in giant drawings that no one has noticed for centuries. He rubs his eyes, convinced he's been in the sun too long. But no, those are real. A giant hummingbird, a spider, a monkey, all drawn in the dirt, all big enough to swallow his house. Toribio dashes back to camp, waving his arms like a man who's just seen a ghost made of hummingbirds. The world is about to learn that the Nazca didn't just make pots, they made the world's biggest doodle pad. In 1987, looters break into a mud brick pyramid at Sipán and stumble onto a king's ransom. They grab gold and run, but they've just opened Pandora's box. Archaeologist Walter Alva gets the call. Looters have found a royal tomb. He races to the site, ready to save history from a bunch of treasure-hungry grave robbers. Alva's team uncovers the Lord of Sipán, a Moche warrior priest buried with gold, silver, and turquoise. He's been dead for 1,700 years, but he's still the richest guy in the room. The Moche may be gone, but their style is immortal. Their art becomes the ultimate Andean fashion trend, copied by every culture with a pottery wheel. Chimu artists are the biggest fans, cranking out Moche-inspired vessels like fan fiction. They even add their own spin, because every culture thinks they can improve on a classic. Even a mighty Inca, who conquer everyone, bow to Moche aesthetics. They adopt the style, proving that some trends are too big to be stopped by an empire. Today, the Nazca lines aren't just ancient doodles. They're a UNESCO World Heritage Site, drawing tourists who pay top dollar to see giant geoglyphs of a monkey and a hummingbird. But the real miracle? The Puquios, those ancient spiral wells, still quenched the thirst of local farmers. A 1,000-year-old plumbing system that outlasted every empire that tried to replace it. So the next time you see a giant spider drawn in the dirt, remember, the Nazca didn't just leave art, they left a legacy that still holds water, literally.